Hey crafty family, it's me. And today I'm going to show you how to make one of these. It is a resin bowl, and believe it or not, it is very easy to make. It's really not difficult at all, so don't be scared. If you've never even used resin before, this is one of the easier things to do. This is even easier than making like resin coasters or anything like that. You can make this, I promise. So what we're going to do is, what you're going to need is, you're going to need obviously resin. You're going to need a place to put the resin, because you're going to have to, it's going to be like a free form type of deal. So you're going to need somewhere to put it. And aside from that, you're going to need, so like I have this tray, and that kind of keeps it, you know, good. I wouldn't really need the tray. This is just so I can lift it up and pick it up and bring it over to the other side of the room. But if you have like a nice workspace where you have like I have a silicone mat down underneath it here, you know, it's not like your resin's going to go all over the place. And then I have this piece of Mylar sheet here because I wanted something shiny down that the resin can sit on. Because if you put resin on shiny surfaces, the resin comes out shiny. If you put it on a dull surface, it comes out dull. Now the outside wasn't sitting on any surface, but the inside was, and the inside has a dull finish, which is fine. It's a bowl. It doesn't need to be shiny all around. I can easily fix that too by just taking some resin and kind of brushing it on the inside and then letting it cure. But to avoid that step, you want something shiny that you could put down. I gotta move this bowl because I'm gonna drop it. You want something shiny you can put down. I ordered a shower curtain. You know those like heavy plastic shower curtains? I ordered one of those because they will work perfectly. Because you can, like, if it, you know, it comes folded up and it has wrinkles in it, unfold it, take your heat gun to it a little bit, and it'll get nice and smooth, and then cut yourself out a big piece of it, and you can reuse that, and they're shiny. And you want something smooth and shiny, so you don't have, like, I've used a garbage bag in the past, which works, but you end up with, like, the wrinkles from the garbage bag, because there's no way to get that perfectly straight. So you're better off using, like, if you happen to have, like, a piece of shiny Mylar around, that'll work. You can also use contact paper. Make sure you get the clear kind that's shiny. You can use that. You don't even take the contact paper off the thing. You just cut yourself a piece, leave it on the backing paper, lay it down, and that's where you would put your resin. So I need to start pouring the resin out, and I have it in a couple different containers so it wouldn't harden quick. Because if you keep it in, if you have a lot of resin in one container, I already mixed it, by the way. So you would mix your resin according to the directions. So if you had, you know, most of it's like 2-part resin. That's the kind I'm talking about, the epoxy resin. So you would mix it according to the instructions. And what I do is I let it sit for a little while because I don't want it to be super fluid. So I want it to start getting thickened. And this is starting to get thick. And the reason for that is because I want it to not move very far. And this way also, when we put the alcohol inks in it, which is what's going to give it that color, the color that is, you know, all that funky color. If the resin is really fluid, the alcohol inks are going to disperse a lot more. So this way they don't disperse as much and you get more of that concentrated color. So I'm going to pour these back together because I am going to add glitter to this. And then we are going to put our resin down on the paper, or on the Mylar sheet, whatever you want to call it. It's not paper. But I'm putting all the resin back together now. It's all been pre-mixed. It was just, once I mixed it, I separated it into 3, because resin cures because it creates its own heat, kind of. And so if it's in the deeper the resin is, like the thicker the resin is in the cup, the quicker it's going to cure because it's going to create more heat. I don't know all the science behind it, but you can, I know, well, I know it, but not enough to repeat it. Not at least very well. So you're going to want to, you know, if you do this as well, once you mix up your resin and you want to let it sit for a little while, and depending on what kind of resin you use, you might let it sit for 10 minutes. You might let it sit for almost an hour. Mine's been sitting about an hour. because I use Dr. Crafty's resin, which you can get on Amazon, and I love that resin. I think it works great. I've never had any problems with it. But that's the resin I use, and it has a really, really long open time. At least for me it does. If you live in a warm climate, it might not. Or like if your house is really warm. So, put it all back in the cup. Now you want to mix up depending on how big your thing is going to be. So, you know, if you want your bowl to have higher walls on it or be larger, then you're going to mix more resin. This is like 500 milliliters of resin, or about 16 ounces. So I'm using about 16 ounces of resin. And yes, I buy my resin by the gallon because, you know, it'll go fast doing all this stuff. So you definitely want to, I definitely mixed that into the smaller bowl. And I want to put some glitters in, so I'm going to put some of this glitter in because I want it to be kind of glittery. So I'm going to mix in the glitters. You don't have to mix glitter in if you don't want to. It's kind of an optional thing. Mix a few different kinds of glitter. You're also going to need a heat gun or a torch to help you get rid of the air bubbles. You don't need a torch. You can use a heat gun. In fact, when you're doing things like, oh, I need my gloves on too, which I have not put on. In fact, when you're doing things like molds and stuff, you don't want to use a torch on a mold because I learned that the hard way. You use your heat gun to pop bubbles on your, where'd my alcohol go? Oh. You're going to want to use your heat gun and not the torch, because what the torch does is it ends up burning your mold, and it'll ruin your mold because it'll make it so that whatever you put in it gets stuck in it, which is why my stuff, I had a problem with stuff getting stuck in my molds, and that's why, because of the fact that it, you know, ruined the mold, and it got in your resin will literally get stuck in it and you can't get it out. So do not use a torch with your silicone molds. Only use your heat gun for that. But if it's something like this where it's kind of like, you know, freestyling and you don't have a silicone mold to ruin, you are perfectly fine using your torch or your heat gun. See, I can feel the cup is getting warm because now I've got it all collected back into one, you know, thick, like it's thick, you know, like it's dense, I should say, because there's more of it. So I don't have a lot of work time now. And so it's perfect time to get this poured onto my surface, and that is what we are going to do. So what you're going to do is, you can pour it however you want. If you want to pour it into a weird shape and make like a funky bowl, you go ahead. Go ahead, Fred. But me, I like to pour it in a circle, basically. And then another thing you might want, now it'll spread out on its own, but it's only going to go so far, and it's kind of going to stop. Especially, you know, if you've done what I do and you don't pour it right away as soon as you mix your resin. Let the resin sit and start to kind of thicken, because then it'll work better and you won't have it escaping ridiculously all over the place. It really won't do that anyway, but 16 ounces of resin is perfect amount for a nice, large, decent sized, whatever, bowl, sculpture. All right, so once you got it poured out, now it's doing its thing, and I'm going to put a border on it. These you can get on Amazon. They're like a vase filler, and they're like those little fake, you know, plastic diamond thingies. And I take them and I'm just going to kind of shift this a little bit. There we go. I take them and I go around the edge. And what I do is I go around the outside edge like this, and I'll move them where I want them after I've got them on the edge, because I try not to get them in the middle here. So I'm going to put them all around the edge. I hope you guys are able to see because I'm using my phone to film. So, seeing if I get one there, I'm going to take it and remove it to the outside. I know I got one over here too, because I don't really want them there. I want them towards the outside. So I try to put them on the outside, and then I take a popsicle stick and kind of work them to the, work them to the edge. That's how you get that, so like that cool kind of diamond encrusted edge. It'll also stop it from shifting and like moving at that point. So if you put these on, it's going to stop it from spreading as well. So you'll have less spreadage. So now I'm going to take a popsicle stick and I'm going to start shifting these little diamond-y things to the edge of the thing. And as the resin continues to move, it'll kind of encase them in the resin, which I think. So I just kind of move them closer. Without getting too many of them popping into the center there. Like that. You just want to kind of like a similar layer all the way around. And if you got an area where you see the resin is kind of like overtaking the gems, and you just put some more gems until it stops, because you don't want it to spread so thin that it's like, not going to be able to be a bowl. You can even push it in a little bit if you need to push it in. Use the diamonds to kind of do that in areas. You can kind of gain some control over it a little bit. I'm not making sure every bit of the diamonds like go into the resin. I'm not worried about that. I'm just worried about getting them around it. The resin will, take care of that. Like, I'm not worried about it, because there'll be excess that you'll pull off that you won't need. You know what I mean? You'll put some of them back in your container because you won't need them. But this is, it's better to have more initially than not. I'll put a link in the description to where you can get these gems, the resin, pretty much everything I'm using, even the plastic shower curtain. So don't worry about that. So once you got your gems where you think they're pretty even, and like I said, you won't need all of them, so don't worry about getting them all stuck in the resin. Just worry about them surrounding your piece. Once you got that taken care of, and I'm hoping, let me check my camera real quick and just make sure it's filming and all that, because I have no idea how long this is going to let me film. Okay, we're back. I had to switch to this camera because the phone was just not working for me. Okay, so I'm running late on this and I'm hoping it still works. So one of the things I wanted to do was try some of the alloys in here. but I wanted to mix it with alcohol because I didn't want it to be so incredibly thick that it would make a problem, because the alloys have a tendency to be real heavy. So this way, if I mix it with alcohol, it'll be a bit thinner and it won't be so heavy, and maybe it wouldn't cause problems. But we're going to see, because I'm going to use that kind of like you would an alcohol. I'm just going to drip it off of this thing. All right, so what you do is you get the colors you want. I've got all kinds of colors, and you start dropping the colors in from the outside and go to the inside. So like you just do like a drop here, a drop here, a drop here. You just go around with whatever colors you want. I'm really hoping it's not too late because, okay, they're spreading. I was going to get nervous there for a minute. But you want to go around with your inks and you want to drop your drops in. It doesn't, you can use whatever colors you want, whatever colors make you happy. I'm going to be using a rainbow of colors. Because that's what I got. And that's what I like. But you want to fill in the whole space with your colors. This is very hard to do with this bottle because some of these bottles like to leak. And I just want to drop. So yeah, I'm just going to do this and put them right next to each other in spaces where there is none. You could do that too. Like I have some spaces here that don't have any color. You're just going to fill them all in. If I can get them open, that would be great. And it doesn't matter. I don't really have a rhyme or reason. I kind of just go for it. I don't really do anything with like, you know, I just fill it all in. I don't like say, oh, well, you got to put these colors here and these colors here. And I just kind of go for it, and whatever happens, happens. So you can put some on top of each other if you want. You know, there's no like wrong way, right way. It's kind of just what you want. I'm just trying not to dilly-dally too much because I don't want my resin to get hardened. Because I let this sit a bit too long because I was fiddling with cameras and I wasn't expecting to have to do that. So yeah, we ended up sitting just a tad too long. Don't do that. Do what I say, not as I do. Definitely. I'm going to go back to some yellow if I can get it open. Get these stuck suckers. Oh, damn. They're testing my arthritis today, aren't they? Some colors on the side of each other. Hurry up. Some of them don't come out fast enough, others come out too fast. And we just go back and forth and around and around. And obviously, like, if you wanted to just stick to blues or just stick to, you know, purples, I mean, you could do that. You know, you don't have to do it the way I'm doing it. Do whatever colors make you happy. I would just, if you're going to stick to all one color, it's good to add a little contrast in there or a little something that's going to be like different. Whether that's like you know, like a metallic if you can. I'm gonna test that theory for us today. So I'm not even sure that would work because I haven't done it yet. So that's all I need to do there. So we got all our colors down except for my metallic, which is here, which I'm going to mix up and drop in separately. Just drop it in here and there. This might not be dark enough. Might have to add a little more to this. Make it a little more metallic-y. So then you're going to take your toothpick and you're going to do back and forth motion. So you're going to go this way and then scoop back this way. And you're going to go in a little tight pattern. You're just going to evenly go back and forth and back and forth. Oops, I lost my line. Get in there. Because we are getting tight, people. Shouldn't have let it sit quite so long. Alright, and then once you got it going that way, I'm going to wipe my toothpick off, or you can get another one. Now we're going to go the opposite direction. And I've got a bubble. I don't want no bubbles. Alright, you can tell how thick it is. I'm going to start here. And then you're done, except for torching it or using your heat gun to get the bubbles out. That's the last thing that you need to do. It's very easy, like I said. You won't have to be as rushed as me if you don't wait quite as long and fiddle with cameras and such. But it still worked out in the end. And now I'm just kind of twisting it and throwing that away. We're done. Now I just need to torch. Now look how pretty that pattern is. Isn't that gorgeous? It's very easy just by going one way and then going the other way. Simple, simple. Taking my torch. If you use your heat gun, make sure that it is not going to blast your color all over the place, because we don't want that. We don't want your color to be going crazy. I'm just looking for any larger bubbles because, again, I let it sit a little too long, so there's a little blasting some of these larger bubbles out. I would have been able to get more of them had I not waited quite so long, because you can't really go back in and like mess with it. You'll mess up your design. So you got to kind of leave it. That's something I should have done prior to, prior to the putting the alcohol down, but I was getting so nervous because it was getting late and I was letting it sit too long. But you're going to torch it a few times between now and and the next amount of time, and the bubbles will keep rising to the top. And when you see them rise to the top, towards the top, you know, they'll come up and then you can torch them. But when they're stuck, like there's one trap there, it's going to keep coming up, and when it comes up, I'll torch it. Like it's getting closer to the, there we go, got it. So you just got to wait sometimes for the bigger bubbles to get up here. Just be careful you don't completely, you can't overheat it, so you don't want to like hold it in one spot and go zzz, because you could burn your resin, so you don't want to do that. So either really short blast or just like go fast. But that looks really pretty. That's gonna be, and little bubbles ain't gonna hurt nothing either, so you know what I mean? It's not gonna hurt the integrity of anything by having some bubbles in it. So don't, you know, freak out about that. I'm gonna put a little bit more diamonds here just to kind of push that in a little. Make sure, because like believe it or not, it you know, even though it seems like it's getting, you know, thicker and harder, it would still, you know, it'll still run somewhat, you know. It's still going to have a little movement to it. So. But man, does that look cool. And no, the resin won't stick to the Mylar or the shower curtain, or it'll peel off. And the next step will be to form it over something. So you're going to need some sort of like vase, like a tall vase that you could turn over, or any kind of container that's tall enough to use to turn over and drape this whole piece of Mylar. And you're going to have to wait about, well, it depends on the resin you're using, and it depends on where you live. So like for instance, for me, this is going to take a while, probably 4 or 5 hours before I can drape it. But you got to catch it at the right spot. And the right spot would be where when you pick up the Mylar piece and nothing is moving, or you could take your bare finger and touch the resin very lightly and you won't get any resin on your finger. It'll just kind of, it'll still be like pliable, but it's not going to come off on your finger. That can take anywhere, depending on where you live, again, because the temperature affects things. So, you know, it depends on, if it's cold, it'll take longer for this to set up and get to that point. So you just got to keep checking it. I would check it every hour and make sure you have the time to give yourself like an hour, or give yourself like 6 hours or so, because, you know, like don't do it right before you go to bed unless you plan on getting up in like every hour. So do it, you know, early in the day, and then check it every hour to see when it's ready. And once you get used to it, you'll know, you know what I mean? But you don't want it to be moving. So if you lift up the edge of your thing, like you're not going to do that in an hour. I mean, you might, depending on what kind of resin, but if you're using the same kind of resin I'm using, you're not going to do that. But every resin is different. That's the thing. Like some resins, it only takes an hour and a half, and bam, you got to get that thing, you know, shaped over something, or else it's not going to, you know, happen. Because, you know, if you don't get it while it's pliable and malleable, it's not going to work, and you're going to end up with, you know, with just a slab of resin, which is pretty. You can still use it for something, but you need it to be able to be, you know, mold it over top of your thing. Like for me, I have this here. I covered it with saran wrap just in case, even though we're not putting the resin side on, we're putting the plastic side on. And I have this, it's a container, and that's what I use, and it works really well. And it's about 10, 11 inches tall. So something around that, like a vase turned upside down would be great, because then you put the middle of it, you know, or you can offset it if you want like one side of it to be long, kind of like sculpture-y looking. You can do it however you want, just as long as it, you know, you're able to do it while it's malleable and able. I like those the little alcohol ink that I did. I mean, the metallic ink looks really cool. I wish I would have gotten more in there, but I was running out of time and I didn't want to like fuss. But yeah, it's looking really good. I'm just keeping an eye out for air bubbles, because it would have been easier if it wasn't quite so thick when I started it. I started a little too thick. But yeah, avoid the temptation of sticking your, sticking like something in there to pick something out. You're just going to have to leave it because you're going to wreck your pattern and you're going to mess it up. So you want to just leave it. Use your torch and let that be, you know, what you do, because you don't want to overdo anything. I wouldn't have to torch it this much if it wasn't for the fact that I let it go a little too thick before I got it on there and got everything done. But it's looking good though. It's looking real good. This is going to be really pretty. And whatever that pattern is, that's pretty much the pattern that's going to be on your bowl. And when the light hits through it, it looks like stained glass. It's so pretty. So be prepared for that because it'll look really, really pretty. It's going to look like stained glass. Glittery stained glass because there's glitter in there. So, okay, well, so what I'm going to do is when this is ready to be molded onto the thing, I'm going to come back and I'm going to try to keep track of how many hours that takes for that to happen. Like I said, you know, you want to touch an inconspicuous spot very, very lightly, like outside where the gems are maybe or something. But you want to touch a very inconspicuous spot and just barely touch it. And if it's sticky at all, you know, if it's really sticky and it's like, you know, going to pull a string of, you know, resin off with it, then it's definitely way too sticky. You know, check back in another like hour, you know, and keep checking until it's not sticky anymore and you can just touch it without it, you know, and you don't have to push on it. You just need to be able to have your finger touch it without it sticking to your finger at all. And like I said, that, you know, that could take up to 6 hours or so. It depends on, you know, depends on your resin that you get. But if you get the Dr. Crafties, you'll have a good, you know, open time to work with it. You know, I was able to sit for, not even touch it for over an hour, you know, before I had to pour it out, you know. But once you pour it out, you know, you need to start putting your alcohol inks on it. And yeah, I know people are going to ask if you can use other things other than alcohol ink. No, not for this technique, because anything you use that's going to go in it is either going to sink because it's going to be more of a pigment. Alcohol inks are nice and light. They stay on the top. And you don't want to use white alcohol ink because that will sink to the bottom. I mean, you can. You just got to do it. Mix it with some alcohol like I did. Anything that's going to be like a heavy, and the white alcohol ink has pigment in it. So you're going to mix it with some alcohol first so that you don't, you know, have it sink to the bottom and end up being like a weird spot on your bowl. So you just want to, you know, stick to alcohol inks, especially initially. You know, your first one, you know, don't do anything fancy. Just stick to the alcohol inks. Believe me, that's what I did on the first one, that one I showed you in the beginning. And that one's beautiful. And I didn't do anything else. Didn't put any metallics in or nothing. This time I just put metallics. I wish I could have actually gotten more metallics in there, but, you know. But, yeah, just stick to that. And trust me, it's so easy. It's so damn easy. It's crazy. It's so easy. If you could pour out some resin, get yourself some of these gems, make yourself a circle. You know, just give the resin some time. You mix it up and let it sit for, I mean, if you're, now keep in mind, if you're using the same resin I'm using, you can let it sit safely out on the counter as long as you don't have it really thick in one cup. So get yourself like 3 cups and split it up into 3 cups so that it's not real thick, because the thicker it is, the quicker it's going to start to cure, and you don't want that. You don't want it to be curing in the cup. You just want it to sit in the cup and start to slightly thicken, and let it sit. You know, if your house is like 70 degrees, that's perfect. Let it sit, let the cup sit for 20 minutes, check it, mix it a little bit, you know, and once it starts to just slightly thicken, it's go time. In the process, or in the meantime, you should, while you're waiting for it, you should have your alcohol inks ready, you should have your thing ready, have everything ready to go, so that when you pour it and get your little gems around it, then you can start dropping your inks on and going, because you don't want to be fiddling with other things. So it's a little bit of planning, but other than that, it's very easy to do. Once you do it, it's very easy. The next part, that's the hardest part, is waiting for it to get to the point where it can be lifted up and malleable. Now, if for some reason you lift it up and you drape it and you notice it starts to drip, obviously, you might have ruined it at that point. So that's why you lift it up at one end before you ever pick the whole thing up. Lift up this plastic and lift the resin with it. Once you've touched it and you think it's not, sticking to your finger, lift up the resin, the plastic, and see if this starts to slide. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're going to lift it up like this, and if you see the resin starting to slide a little bit, put it back. Don't touch it. If it's not, and you can hold it up like halfway and like keep holding it, and you're looking at it and it's not sliding, it's not moving, or you know what I mean, like if it's not moving but it's still soft enough to bend on the sheet, then that's perfect. It's perfect time, and you'll have you'll know, you know what I mean, you'll know. And just put put your tray or whatever you're using, when you put your thing down on whatever you're putting it down on, then you're going to lift this up, and you'll see what I do. You're going to lift it up and put it over top. It's very easy. It's a little tricky, but it's not like super tricky. It's pretty easy. So we're going to do that. And the next time you see me, I'll be back and we'll be saying, I'll show you what it looks like when I touch it and it's ready. And we'll be, ready to do our thing with the, I'm looking for the torch. What did I do with it? Oh, here it is. Just check for last minute bubbles. There's a couple of them here. Okay. So, yep. So the next time you see me, that is what we are going to be doing. We will be ready to go. Ready for liftoff, basically, literally. So stay tuned and we will be right back. Okay, we are back, and it has been approximately 6 hours, 5.5, 6 hours, and it is ready to be put on its platform. If I touch it, I can safely, very lightly put my finger across it, which I don't want. You don't want to put fingerprints on it, so be careful of that. But it's not sticky anymore, and that's what you want. Also, another test is if you stick your finger on it and you can hold it there for more than 2 seconds without it getting stuck, then it's ready. Okay, and it's still very pliable. It's not super pliable, actually. I'm probably even a little bit late, but it'll still be fine. So this is what we're gonna do, and we're just gonna take it and lay it right on there. Yeah, it's actually a little bit less pliable than I want. It would have been a good about a half hour ago, but I got a little sidetracked. I had some things to do, so it might be a little bit of a fight getting it on here the way I want to. We're gonna do the best we can, see, because it's not draping like it should. That's my fault for not paying attention. I need to cut away some of this plastic because it's going to hit the table. So yeah, like I said, there is a fine line between, you really got to check it more, often, which I did not do a very good job of because I was in the other room getting some work done and I kind of lost track of time. Now, I normally wouldn't touch it very much, and actually I'm going to throw a couple gloves on, just so I don't get fingerprints on it. The gloves should help because I'm going to have to touch it a little more than I wanted to. And you can also use your heat gun to soften it, which I'll do a little bit of. Like, I'm going to heat it a little bit. That'll help. If you did get to a point where it might be just a tad over overdone. Alright, yeah, it's softening up now. And the first thing I did was try to, was remove a lot of the loose gems. I did get a couple that popped on there, but that's okay. So what we want to do is create divots like this, and then go around and basically create, don't touch the resin together, like right here, like between two divots. Don't press them together, but you definitely want to create divots like that, and then go a little further and then create another one. And I'm kind of being fast because I don't want to cause a problem here, and I may have to use a little tape to kind of tape it down to make it go where I want it to go. So I'm putting my finger in a spot and then creating another divot here, and I kind of am trying to create them as evenly as possible. Now some people like to do them very, very unevenly, which actually, yeah, I'm going to need my tape because I'm going to have to tape some of that down as I go. And the problem is, like, yeah, I'll be able to get this to work, and I'm taping the plastic. I'm not taping onto my thing. I'm trying to tape the plastic. Now, I can get this to work, but it could potentially crack. That's the problem. The resin could crack where I'm folding it, which is why you don't want to wait until it's too late, because I've had that happen before, and it kind of sucks. So that's why it's kind of important that you stay on top of it and don't get sidetracked like I do. And I had initially I was setting an alarm every so often so that I could not forget, but then of course Sidetrack Sally, which is what my name should be, I got sidetracked with other things. Now it's probably going to pop. The tape isn't going to hold very well. This tape kind of sucks. I may have to get my packing tape. There we go. Now we're getting somewhere. And it doesn't have to be like even, you know what I mean? Because obviously, as long as it gets to be a bowl, gets to look like a bowl, that's what we want, It doesn't have to be perfectly even or anything like that. We just want it to look bowl-like. See, like the tape popped over there, but it's okay because I'm going to have to unpop it anyway. I need to bring this in. Tape is popping everywhere because this tape sucks for things like this. You definitely want a better tape. Using this kind of tape, this painter's tape, to try to hold this down is just a bad idea. Use some sort of a packing tape if you can, help it, because it'll work better. Which I'm going to go grab my packing tape because I'm going to be here wasting this tape and fighting for the next 10 minutes. I'll be right back. Okay, so in the time that I went to go get tape, literally 30 seconds, this is like it literally just all the tape came popping off. So this is what I mean. Use a better tape. Don't use any kind of pack or any kind of masking tape. I'm even going to let it tape to the tray. And make sure you don't get the tape on this because it'll stick like I just did. Make sure you're sticking the plastic that's left behind. Oh, now I can't turn it. Okay. Okay. So what I'm doing is just taping the divots. Wherever there's a divot, I tape like in between it. There. tape one more area. Like yeah. I think I caught it just in time. If I would have waited another couple of minutes, another half hour, I would have been in big trouble. I think that's going to be good enough. So now I just need to go around and make sure my tape isn't going to pop, because what you want to do is reinforce the tape as much as possible, because what's going to happen in 15 minutes, you'll hear crinkle, crinkle, pop as the tape pulls away. I've had it happen a million times every time I've done it. So you definitely want to reinforce the tape. Again, don't get the tape on the thing. Make sure you're getting it on this plastic part. Don't get it on your resin. I mean, it won't hurt your resin, but it will leave a mark. And if your resin's too soft, it could, you know, leave a big mark. So that's why you leave the plastic on. I'm just double checking my resin. Okay. Just double checking all my tape and such. Okay. Looks good. We are looking good. So this will be the flat side that the bowl sits on, obviously. I like the colors. It came out a bit lighter than the last one, so that's kind of cool. So it'll be a little different. They're all going to be different. I mean, you're never going to get two exactly the same. It's just not possible. You know, you want there to be, you know, that's kind of the fun of it, is that they're always going to be different. Just taping the little areas that has extra. And yeah, I go extra with the tape because I've had it every time. You're going to just definitely don't use masking tape, because I promise you it will come undone. It does every time. It will come undone. So make sure you're using like a packing tape or a very sticky tape. And again, don't tape your resin there. Basically, I just taped like where the plastic is folded right here, so that in case the other tape comes apart, this will still be folded and it's not going to let it split, so that this can get bigger. So it'll stay this size, if that makes sense. So the little folded parts down here of the plastic, I just taped it so that it stays together. And so yeah, that's it. It's kind of taped to the thing, so I can't lift it up. Can I? Maybe I can get it to go underneath of the thing so I can lift it up. Let me see. Get it to go under the bowl, under the thing. Okay, so yeah, see, like I taped the little, whoops, taped that so that the little folds stay. It doesn't have to be that incredibly close together, you know, like that's good where it's like a loop. I don't really want it to be a point, but it'll be fine, because tomorrow I'll take it off and it'll kind of chill out. Now you could sit it like that as long as you sit it on a surface that's clean and smooth, which I'm going to leave it like this because I want it to be like that. But yeah, you're just going to leave it like this for about 24 hours, to be honest. Because if you think, oh, well, you know, in 12 hours, it'll be fine. You take the tape off, you're going to see that, no, is it going to go completely flat? No. It's going to still look like a bowl, but it's going to be wide. It's still going to widen out. So if you want it to stay kind of like, you know, the size that you left it at, then leave it for 24 hours. Let it really harden, because I'll show you the other bowl. It's, you know, there's no give in that. I'm pushing on that. I don't want to snap it, but there's no give anymore. And that's because I left it. But when I first, like, if I took this off, you know, and I did take it off at first, which was stupid. I took it off a little early and it was opening up a little more than I wanted it to. But you could see the difference in the color a little bit. This one's a little darker. And you know why? Because see, everywhere I put the silver, it spread the alcohol ink. So now there's like clear spots with just the glitter, which I really like that. It actually looks really cool. So like all these big spots right here, like that big clear spot, it looks cool because it's like got the, you can see like the glitter and the silver outlining it. It's hard to show on camera, but I'll show you tomorrow. But here you could see, and there's like a little of the, wait, where's the camera? There's a, let's see, it's hard to get on camera. See that little thing in the middle there? That's silver, and then the rest of the silver pushed the other alcohol ink out, and then it tightened the alcohol ink here, because wherever I put the silver, it like tightened the alcohol ink together. So it made these interesting spots that are like glittery, and I kind of like it. So it's like a different look, you know. Each one of them is going to be different. I'm going to experiment different. I want to do the next one I want to do all blue colors and gold. I was thinking blue with some golds with it, and I'm gonna do some, you know, I want to, you know, play with a, I might do it tomorrow, because I'll have these in my auction on Sunday, both of these bowls. I'm also going to be making lamps. I already have the lamps set aside. I'm going to be making lamps, and these will be the lamp shades. So like this would be a lampshade hanging from a lamp and lit up, you know, kind of like, not this kind of light, but it would be like, well, I can't, whoa, can't show you on this, but it would be like, you know, it'll be like a light, a lamp, and I'll physically have the lamps and everything, and it'll be I have silver, they're like nice modern silver lamps, and then I'll have the, you know, this will go like on top as the lampshade. Not this one, but I'll be making some. So look for that coming up in the next coming weeks. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it made you realize how easy this is to do, because it really is. And if you need anything, you can always message me. I'm going to put a bunch of links in the description. Check out those links. Those are going to be all stuff you can get to do your resin on Amazon. I'm going to put in the gallon resin, which is like $89, I think. But I'll also put in the smaller amount ones. But you're not gonna want to get like the smallest one, because you're not gonna be able to do anything. You know what I mean? You're gonna run out so fast, it's not even gonna be funny. So you definitely want to get, you know, I'll even put a couple links to some silicone molds and, you know, all the things you'll need to make these. And really, it's not that hard to make these at all. They're so easy, it's not even funny. And I wouldn't tell you that, I'm not lying. And you'll see me do more of them in live streams and stuff, because I do live streams a lot on my channel. So look for those. Make sure you're subscribed and click on the little bell notification next to the subscribe button. And when you click on the bell notification, it should pop something up that says, like, gives you a choice. Put all notifications so that you get notifications when I go live and whatnot. Also, I have a Patreon. You can help support my channel, get classes. We just did a canvas class this week. I'm trying to find the canvas. We did a pumpkin canvas, and oh, here it is. I just did a pumpkin canvas this week. So we do classes every month. So make sure if you want some classes, you sign up at my Patreon. The link will be down below. It's a great way to support my channel, and it makes it so that I can do videos like this and do live streams. And, you know, my live streams are great because you can come in, ask questions about anything, not just what I'm working on. Come in and hang out, meet the girls that are in there all the time. We always have a good time. And come craft with me if you're, you know, if you need a craft mate. We're good people to have as craft mates. You know, when you want somebody to craft with, but you don't have anybody directly at your house, you can come hang out with us and talk in the chat and craft with us. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. Please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. Share this video if you liked it. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. I will see you later. Actually, I will see you. I will leave the video. Actually, no, I'm not. I'll put a picture in the group, which also there's a link for below. I'll put a link to the group where you'll be able to see a picture of this. But this is what it's going to look like. I mean, it's basically this, you know, just different, a little bit different colors. So I'm not going to worry about this one. You'll see pictures of it. So yeah, I hope you'll give it a try because it's a lot of fun. Check out the links below and have a great rest of your week. Make sure you do what you love and love what you do and be nice to people. And I will see you later. Bye.